also light a candle. I see you've already lit one. And call attention to the fire here, the fire that is the sun, the fire that is within us, the sun, the stars, and the fire inside that is the passion for the work that we do, that moves us. I looked a little bit at what are Unitarians, and I did see that you use the word worship. You have a board of worship, and so in thinking about, well, what is it about worship that's important to us? It's often associated with a deity, and I know that amongst Unitarians, that's not always the belief system. But when we think about the fire, what is that? Isn't that something that's much bigger than ourselves? That's a source for us of energy and of power and life. And so we could think of that we call our attention right now, meditatively, inwardly and outwardly, to the fire as something that we could say genuinely is an object of worship. When we take a breath, and I would encourage you right now to maybe just close your eyes for a moment and take a breath in, out, and follow your breath the way one does in meditation. Let it center you. Let it help you to focus on being here and now. And be aware that the air that you breathe, the air is an ocean, an atmosphere that's been here ever since the beginning of this planet, through all the stages of evolution and change. And that this is something that could be seen as an object of respectful attention and admiration and gratitude, which is worship. Something greater than the small self that we ordinarily identify with. The air that we breathe, that enters into your body and goes into your blood, and then is the aspect of the life force of spirit. And I want to just ask you, if you would, to lift your arms up, if you're, to the extent that you're comfortable with that, just to the extent that you're comfortable with it, and let them stretch up, and as if your palms and fingertips have eyes. Let them look up and energetically reach up to that which is above. The sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, and whatever you think it is that transcends in your own belief system, in your own mind, in your own way of being. What is it that's above that you want to call your attention to? And let those eyes that you are reaching up with, your attention that you're reaching up with, absorb that consciousness and that energy, and then bring it down and let your hands come into your heart. And let it come into your heart. And then, if you would, just, you may need to put your chair back a little bit, reach down and let the eyes that are in your hands, the attention that you have, reach down below your feet. Think of them going way down through the surface of the earth and deep into the earth, into all that's the foundation, the substance, the support. Again, that is a part of the source of life. And then bring that up and bring that energy, that consciousness of Mother Earth and all of the life of Mother Earth back up into your heart. And so that which is above and that which is below, the fire, the air, all combines here in respectful worship. And now just think of your hands reaching out all around. And as if the quality of your awareness could reach all around the world. Of course, first all around the bioregion that you live in, wherever that is. I know there's someone from Europe and West Coast, and most of us are on the East Coast. And then it goes all the way around the world. All of the life of this planet, the animals, the plants, the mineral, human, and bring it back to your heart and go in, deep, deep, deep inside yourself. To that source of life, the eternal, the infinite, the source of life, that is the true nature of the one that you are, within and all around your body. And let's just take a moment in silence. This hand position, this mudra of placing your hands over your heart center, helping you to feel and sense presence. I really love that video that we just watched. It comes from a group called Playing for Change. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with them. That was one of their original postings, that one that you just saw, Stand By Me. And they go around the world and they film and record musicians, very often street musicians, complete unknowns. Sometimes a celebrity will pop in and do a piece, to lots and lots of songs. So you can find them online, playingforchange.org or com or something, Playing for Change, you'd find them. And they also, since they have become so successful, have been establishing music schools in impoverished areas in Africa and in other parts of South America, other parts of the world, and giving opportunities for people to learn about musical instruments, young people, and so forth. So it's a wonderful group. And the earlier song, video was myself and my wife, Ginny, and our son, Noah, doing a song from a friend of ours that I thought was really beautiful, about beliefs and love, and you can also find that online. So it's really about the theme of this that I've been asked to speak about, social change, staying healthy. As it was mentioned, I do a webinar that's called Staying Sane While Making the World Better. And in a sense, there's two intentions to that. And I often remind folks in my webinar about these two basic core intentions that drive what it is that we pay attention to. Because when we think about it, it's an intention that causes us to pay attention to certain things. And then when we pay attention to those things, that's what we begin to experience, and that's what we begin to determine our actions. So when it comes to making the world better or social change, then we all find within ourselves somehow an intention to what's our part in that. How do we play a role in making the world better? How do we play a role in helping bring about more social justice, more peace, a greater harmony between humans and the what we call the environment, which is really life, which is really nature and Mother Earth. And also, what is our intention about ourselves, about what would make us more healthy in not just avoiding illness and disease, but more healthy in the sense of maturing ourselves as human beings, in cultivating aspects of life that are what we could say are a more evolved and a more healthy way of being, a more sane way of being, such as compassion, such as being more in touch with beauty, such as and joy and kindness. These are things that not only involve action, they involve what we feel in our heart and what goes through our mind. So these two intentions, the focus on our own self-awareness and consciousness and well-being, and the focus on the world and acting in the world and making change in the world as best we can, are two intentions that are not really separate, but they often can feel like they pull at each other, so that if we're working to help out changing the world, making the world a better place, we lose touch with focusing on our own health and our own well-being and our own experiencing joy and beauty in the world. And if we focus on ourselves, taking care of ourselves, we may feel somehow, or be made to feel guilty that somehow we're not doing our part, we're not going to the next demonstration or the next meeting of the activist group and so forth. So how do we find that balance? That's really the key, I think, of what we're looking at. And it's not an easy thing, because both of those intentions themselves are quite challenging. How can we make the world a better place? How do we even begin to know what would make the world better? What would bring about more social justice? I hadn't meant to talk about this, but because I just went to this workshop yesterday called Braver Angels, and they had people from both sides of the political spectrum sharing their thoughts, sharing their feelings about what's going on. My guess is that pretty much everybody here, like myself, would identify with the more liberal, progressive, blue side of that. But what I kind of really came to see was that the people that identified themselves as on the red side of the political spectrum all felt like they were doing and and believed that what they were doing was for the good of other people. And their hearts, as far as they were able to express it and be in touch with themselves, was for a more compassionate way of being. And that's a real stretch for a lot of us. So I thought I would just refer back to that. The level of anxiety and stress that people are experiencing in response to what's going on in the world and what's going on in the political world has never been this high in my lifetime. And I lived through the 60s. I was a major player in the anti-war movement and social change movements of the 60s. And still, the kind of tension, the kind of anxiety, the kind of fear, the kind of rage that we're seeing now is to my experience, unprecedented. And we, those of us that are seeking a healthier way of relating to what's going on in the world, I think really need to come to terms with that surge of negative and destructive emotion that rises up in us, and harness that energy in such a way that it can be transformed into creative and constructive action. Too many people, and I may be preaching to the choir here, and you may all not be doing this, but too many people I find are watching the media, especially some of the more difficult and challenging stuff that comes on social media sites, becoming inflamed, but doing really very little because they find themselves paralyzed in the anger and fear. And so I often suggest to people that they get off, if they can be aware that that's happening to them, to just turn it off. Turn off the media for a little bit, especially social media, take a break, detox, and take some time to get in touch with yourself, get in touch with friendship, get in touch with beauty, get in touch with music, with art, with nature. Learn to, or practice meditation and yoga to recenter yourself, and then re-enter the political, social change world from a place of balance, from a place of, which essentially is, what is it, asking ourselves, what is it we really want to bring into the world? Is it a particular change in some kind of political philosophy or policy? Or is it that we're seeking to have humans relate more compassionately and with more love and with more attunement to the source of life and Mother Earth with all of the rest of life, that each individual will relate more in that way, and that communally will relate more in that way. And so if that's what we want, then that's what we have to be. It was the famous quote, I forget who it's from. Jim, could you give me a heads up when I got 5 minutes left? Or somebody? Because I lose track of time and I could just go on. Is anybody hearing me?
Yeah.
Give me say 5 minutes left, give me a heads up. So, so where was I? We want to be the peace that we want to bring into the world. That's the expression I was looking for. We want to be the love that we want to bring into the world. We want to be the compassion that we want to be in the world. And part of that is that we need to recognize that quite often we're not. Quite often our own consciousness is out of sync with the very thing that we're trying to bring into the world and the very thing that we're trying to help ourselves cultivate. And so when we recognize that, and only if we recognize that, can we make the changes in ourselves that help bring about the change that we're seeking to bring into the world. And so I often recommend to people that they take conscious walks in nature. And a lot of people take walks in nature, but taking a conscious walk in nature where we're more quiet. We're not listening to some kind of iPod, or we're not even going over our plans for next week or what we're going to do when we get out of there, but we're listening and opening to what are the trees telling us? What is the earth telling us? What's happening when we tune into the sky, like we did in that exercise when you raise your hands? Doing that particular exercise, which comes from somewhat of a Taoist tradition, is even much more powerful when you do it outside and the sky is literally there, and you feel when you raise your hands that you're reaching up into the sky, and the earth, dirt and grasses and so forth are at your feet, and you're touching that and you're reaching down into that. It's a great way to let go of the anxious feelings, and a great way to open to the greater abundance of the force of life that's really coming from all around us as well as from inside us. Remember, we have to remember, I think, that it's really only humans that get out of balance. We seem to have this gift of a brain in our head that gives us the opportunity to actually take us out of balance with the rest of nature, with the rest of life. The thinking mind. It's a great gift. It can be a great tool, but sometimes it's very, very helpful to go beyond that, to help ourselves and go beyond that. So I want to just take a couple of moments to see what it would be like for those of us here to close our eyes once again. Be aware of your breath. Let go of even the things I've been talking about. Let go of what you're going to do after this service. Recognize that right now, right in this moment, where you are, and you're okay. There's nothing you need to do right in this moment, unless maybe you're one of the engineers working on the technical side and you think, oh, I've got to watch out for something. But for the rest of us, including me, there's nothing I have to do, nothing you have to do. Your hands, your legs, your body can relax. And it's not so much doing, but it's allowing yourself to open inwardly, and all around you, that there is life, and that life is good. There is suffering in the world. There may even be pain inside you, pain inside your body. There may even be anxious feelings, still residual. That's okay. With each breath in and with each breath out, especially on the out breath, think of letting go, releasing whatever tension, whatever anxious feelings there are in this moment, which could just be, you might just feel as a kind of tightness in your shoulders or your neck or your back. Letting that release, letting that relax, and with the in-breath, especially simply be aware of the basic okayness, the basic life that you're taking in, appreciating with gratitude. Gratitude is a wonderful state of consciousness to remind ourselves of. Open to what it is that you're grateful for. Air, water, fire, light, the earth. Grateful for the energy that you have, that you can apply to making change in the world. The energy that you have for making the world a better place. And I want to actually allow you to open your eyes for a moment, and want to try to share something here. If you can see this, I developed a
excuse me, I just want to give you the 5-minute warning, okay? It's 11:20, so you should wrap up in 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So if you would just look at this for a moment, I've worked to develop a way that people can feel less judgmental about themselves in relationship to what they're doing to make the world a better place. Because very often people feel guilty, and I work with so many people that feel that I found a way of developing a way of looking at a sphere of social involvement, social and political involvement, that has 3 axes. But it's a little too complicated to describe the whole thing. But I wanted to just share this one, that this one continuum that you could say you could focus your awareness on. If you have the intention to make change, to do good, where do you focus your attention? And any one of these along the way, from yourself or your personal relationships or your family, which is the more personal side of things, perfectly valid and will have a positive impact on all of the rest. If you focus on your household, if you focus on your community, if you focus on the region that you live in, the nation that you're in, or for some people, maybe their ethnic group or their tribal identity, and or the whole world. Some people focus on the world and they neglect the more local, more personal. Some people focus only on the personal and they forget about the world. So where do we find the balance in that? And what I wanted, the reason I bring this out is just to share that there's not a judgment about which is the right and which is the wrong place to focus. At different times in our lives, at different moments, maybe even for a lifetime, a person focuses on one aspect of the whole picture, because we can't do it all. So I know I was given a 5-minute warning, but I think I'm probably ready to just close with just that one message about that, which is that look at the quality of judgment toward yourself. And when you move to free yourself of that, when you move to free yourself of that quality of judgment, am I okay? Am I all right? Am I doing the right thing? Then you'll find that you're more able to do the right thing. And you'll also find that you'll be less judgmental, less angry, less uptight with people who might disagree with you, and be able to have conversations with them and be able to be respectful and realize that we're all trying to get by. We're all trying to do our best. So thank you.